Hello guys, and welcome back. As I was doing my research on Stranger Things, I was blown away to learn about the Broadway play, The First Shadow, and how much important information it contains about the Stranger Things universe. It's kind of odd that this isn't widely known, especially because the Duffer Brothers said the play is canon, yet apparently a lot of people, myself included, had no idea about this piece of information. And trust me, you need to know this before Season 5 comes out, because it directly contradicts what we learned at the end of Season 4. So in today's video, I want to talk about how Henry and the other test subjects actually got their powers, and the truth behind the Mind Flayer and Dimension X. Season 4 made it look like Henry had powers since birth, and because of that, he felt different from everyone else. As he grew up, he developed the resentment he now has toward people. His story then continues with Dr. Brenner making him the first test subject and suppressing his abilities. After 11 removed his limiter and he killed everyone in the lab, he faced her, only to be defeated and sent to another world. A world untouched by humans, and in that world, he found a mass of floating particles that he shaped into the spider-like form we now know as the Mind Flayer. But the play comes with additional information, and honestly, it makes a lot more sense than what we learned from the show. I always found it odd that Henry supposedly had powers from birth, but this new explanation ties everything together perfectly. In the play, it's stated that Henry wasn't born with powers. He acquired them after a failed scientific experiment. In 1943, the US government attempted a secret experiment called Project Rainbow, also known as the Philadelphia Experiment. The goal was to make the ship USS Eldridge invisible, but the experiment failed. Instead of becoming invisible, the ship was transported to another dimension, Dimension X. This is the same place Vecna mentioned when he said he encountered the Mind Flayer. When the ship returned, all the crew members were killed by Demogorgons, except for one single survivor, Captain Brenner. He kept everything that happened a secret, and on his deathbed, he told only one person the truth about what happened when the ship disappeared. That person was his son, Martin Brenner. Later, in 1950, Martin Brenner led the Nevada experiment, in which the government tried to replicate what happened to the USS Eldridge. But one of the staff members stole an important piece of equipment and hid in a cave in Nevada. It was in that cave that he encountered a young Henry Creel, and the stolen device mysteriously activated, teleporting both of them into Dimension X. After 12 hours, Henry was the only one who returned, but when he came back, his personality had changed, and his blood had been altered. After this incident, the Creel family moved to Hawkins, and at the end of the play, we learn one last important detail. The Mind Flayer is actually controlling Henry, not the other way around. And honestly, this makes a lot of sense. Remember what Dustin said about Vecna? He said Vecna was a 5-star general, and we know how important D&D lore is. If Vecna were the strongest threat in the D&D universe, he wouldn't be a general. He would be the final villain. So do you think Vecna is being controlled by the Mind Flayer the same way Will was in Season 2? Let me know what you think in the comments. If the play is true, it makes far more sense that the Mind Flayer would control Vecna, because it would be strange for someone to overpower the very thing that gave them power in the first place. It just doesn't add up. We saw in 11's flashback that when the test subjects were made to fight each other, number 2 beat everyone except 11. And the only reason 11 could overpower him was because of Henry's advice, to use emotions as fuel. The test subjects were forbidden to use emotions, and Brenner taught them to suppress their feelings so they wouldn't be overwhelmed by their powers. That's why 11 beat number 2. She ignored Brenner's teachings and used her emotions to overpower him. And regarding 11 overpowering Henry, I believe that's possible too. We literally see Henry kill the entire lab. He used his powers intensely for the first time in a long while, so he was exhausted, while 11 was still at 100%. There's also a theory that love is emotionally stronger than hate. We saw at the end of Season 4 how Mike's declaration of love gave 11 the strength to turn the tide of the battle. So this is why I don't think Vecna is controlling the Mind Flayer. It makes much more sense for it to be the other way around, because it wouldn't make sense for a creator to be subdued by its own creation. This creator-creation relationship also doesn't apply to Henry and 11, because 11 got her powers due to her mother being injected with Henry's blood. So if anything, the The connection between Henry and Eleven is more like a father-daughter bond rather than creator-creation. Let me know if this explanation makes sense, because I don't want it to sound awkward. Also, Vecna's mindset resembles the Mind Flayers a lot. Henry's supposed purpose was to save the planet from what he saw as the pest of humanity, and Dimension X looks exactly like that. Vecna even described it as a place untouched by humans. I don't know about you, but this sounds way more like the Mind Flayer's agenda than Henry's own will. I believe Henry was infected when he first arrived in Dimension X as a child, and that, similar to Billy being flayed, Henry too was taken over. The real Henry might have died back then, and the Mind Flayer took his place in the real world. If you rewatch his scenes as a child, you can definitely see the Mind Flayer behind his actions. The play also reveals that Dimension X is the original home of the Demogorgons and the Vines. They are not natives of the Upside Down, as the show led us to believe. I think that when Eleven touched the Demogorgon in the void and opened a portal to the Upside Down, the same thing happened in Dimension X. A portal opened there as well, allowing the Demogorgons and Vines to spread into the Upside Down. I'm honestly disappointed that I didn't get to see the play live and that I only learned about it 1 week before the final season releases. But I think the reason is that the Duffer Brothers are planning to incorporate many of these elements into the finale. I'm really excited to see how the story ends and how everything ties together. Will Vecna be the final villain? Will the Mind Flayer be? Or is something even bigger waiting for us? Because you know who the ultimate villain is in D&D lore? It's not Vecna, it's not the Demogorgon, and it's not even the Mind Flayer. It's Tiamat, a unique chromatic dragon with one head for each primary chromatic species. And remember Will's drawing from Season 4? It's the group facing a dragon. So could this be foreshadowing that Vecna won't be the ultimate villain? Let me know what you think in the comments. And that's it, guys. This play literally changes everything about Stranger Things, and if the Duffer Brothers really use all these ideas in Season 5, then we are about to witness one of the craziest finales ever put on screen. So tell me right now in the comments, who is the real final villain? Vecna, the Mind Flayer, Tiamat? I want to see your theories.